Back at you and gloves off, and today we have an excellent guest, Mr. Rafael Duenas. How are we doing today?
Pretty good, Paul. Pretty good. How about yourself?
Good, good. Everything's great.
Awesome.
Well, number one, I want to thank you for standing up and trying to run for City Council District 6 and trying to get some new ideas going on there and all that good stuff. And it's always proud to see somebody doing the best for America in general. Okay? So I'm going to ask you a couple of questions. Not really. I want the folks out there to understand who Rafa Duenas is.
Right.
So you're from here, from Laredo, right?
Of course. And first off, before anything, thank you so much, Paul, for having me on the show. It's a great pleasure and a great honor. Thank you so much to everyone that's tuning in. I am a big advocate of learning more about the candidates, learning more about their policies, whatever it is that they have on their agenda in order to further the growth of our city and the development of it. Yes, I was born and raised here in Laredo, Texas. I have lived here my entire life. My family, however, is not from here. My family moved here from Mexico City, my dad and my sisters. My mom is from South Mexico, from Campeche.
Sure.
But this city, this state, and this country really gave us a great opportunity to be able to come and move forward, to progress, and to really live that American dream. So when I moved here, well, I was born here, but when my family moved here, this city really gave us that opportunity. They moved here with the opportunity to open up a business, which is an agencia banal, a freight forwarding agency.
Sure.
And that's what we've been doing our whole lives, and which is why I'm forever grateful for this city.
Sure. And a lot of people don't understand that, and especially viewers out there in Facebook land and the world, because we get folks from all over the place, is that Laredo is the biggest land port of the United States. So import-export and import-export businesses and their associate businesses is really the bloodline of Laredo.
It is.
And we want to thank you all for doing that and for bringing the economy towards Laredo in general.
There's about 15,000 trucks that cross every day through the bridge. We're number 2 port in the whole nation, not only inland, but in everything. We're number 1 port, inland port.
Inland port.
So it's amazing what the international trade business has been able to do for our city. And I'm grateful to all my colleagues who we work together with this and being a part of it, the trade community.
Sure. And Laredo has grown, and especially in your district, the part of the district that you're running, has grown, especially with a lot of that growth of business.
Yeah.
And it's, I'm from Laredo, and I left as soon as I graduated high school. And when I moved back, Laredo, close to 17, 18 years later, Laredo was a little bit different. It had grown, and it's still growing. It's doubling in size. It's just growing at a tremendous pace. And we need new growth, not only as a city, we need new growth in ideas on how we're going to run the city for betterment in the future.
Right.
So tell me, you have no incumbent, but there's a huge array of great individuals that are running, and each one of them has their own tone and opinion, and each one of them is a good person, in my opinion. But what would you bring to the table? What do you want to see from Laredo?
Well, before I talk a little bit about my what, talked a little bit about my who I am, but I do want to say why this all came about to be. Because you can't just go off and start doing this without people really knowing why.
Sure.
What's his agenda? What's his motive? What's his drive? What's his purpose? And it really all came about to be about 3 years ago. When I was in college, I went to college in Dallas, Texas, got my bachelor's degree. And as I was there, I started to develop a big passion for the history of our country, of the United States. So I started reading up, devouring maybe about 3 to 4 books a week. Okay. And I saw some incredible leaders, some influential leaders who, accompanied by great character, accomplished great things. So as I was reading about all this, getting real passionate about it, and this is during the Trump-Hillary election.
Sure.
So there was also a lot of systems that have been in place, and something sparked within me, and I said, one day that's going to be me. I'm going to be the person that stands up for what is right, that stands up for what is true, that stands up for the people, for the ones who don't have a voice. I don't care how long a system has been here in place, whether it be a system of bigotry, of corruption, of lie, of deceiving. At that point, a system of racism. It can be changed. And it starts with one person. And I said, that's going to be me. Despite my age, despite the adversity, that's going to be me. If you look at history, it's always young people who are at the front of revolutions. Always young people who have nothing to lose. And which is why I decided to run up for city council. Because I said, I have nothing to lose but to stand up for the people. If you ask about me, who I was in high school, who I am in middle school, even college, there's many things that have changed within my character, within my persona.
Of course, you're growing.
But there's one thing that everyone's going to tell you. Rafa Duenas, he's never really cared. And not in the aspect of, oh, Rafa Duenas doesn't care about anything, he's just going about life. But when it comes to his motives, when it comes to what he wants to do, he doesn't care what other people say, what other people do. He stands up for what he believes, he stands up for what is right, and he stands up for what is true. And that's really my why. That's really how all of this came about to be.
And we have a lot of change going, okay? We have a lot of change going within the nations, and especially in our great nation. There's a change right now, and revolution will be a basis of it, but I think we have to stand up for our beliefs now, okay? Because sometimes we sit back and say people are in power, or people are parent leaders are taking care of our ideals. No, a lot of them have been changing, and all of a sudden you wake up one day and say, well, what happened? And I think that's exactly what happened to the United States. I'm gonna say hi to a couple of people out here. Cristobal, how we doing? Danny, Aldo, Joe, how we doing? You guys got any questions? We'll put up the phone and number in a little bit. If you guys want to download our Border Indie app, please do so. And there's one thing that I see Laredo. Laredo in the last 10 years now, I've been seeing and looking at individuals that before would not voice their opinion, especially on social media, especially out in the public. Everybody would say with a short, whispering tone, I don't like what's going on. I don't know how we can change it. But now they're getting very vociferous.
Yeah.
And they're coming out loud and telling folks, you know what? I don't like it, I don't like you, and plain and simple, I'm not going to take it anymore. So things are changing. And our leaders now need to understand and see what the needs of the people are. And I think they're forgetting that.
Exactly.
Laredo needs a bunch of things. How do you see Laredo in 10 years?
When elected, I plan to move our city forward, to progress, to really help and work with the economic development. I see Laredo becoming a more modern city. I see elected officials working together with their people, not against each other, being voices for their community, not for their own agenda. And I see in the end a Laredo that is thriving, a Laredo that is becoming a destination city, not just a city to pass through, but a city to go to because of the culture that it developed, because of the friendly environment society that it has, because of the more innovative places that it has, because of the businesses that came to our city. And that's a collective work. That's a teamwork. That's developers working together with the government, the private sector working together with the government. It takes a team effort. I can't do this alone. Our officials can't do this alone. The business sector can't do this alone. Whatever you want to name it, we have to work together if we really want to leave a better city for for tomorrow. If we really want to leave a better city for our children, for our children's children. If we really want to create this progressive, lasting change, we have to work together.
What do you see the wrongs that are in our city right now?
I think there's always room to develop. There's always room to get better. As I was mentioning a little bit of what I would rather do is more of a private with the public sector coming together and just simply sharing our own ideas without self-interest, without seeking our own benefits, and pushing to accomplish those things and not just leaving them as agendas that later get moved away or thrown aside, or, oh, we heard you and that's good, awesome, give you a little hand clap, you get a gold star, but working together and really driving that in.
So you think the city of Laredo right now has failed in that?
I don't know about failed, but I do know that we can always do better. We can always develop. We can always listen more. I think as time goes by, we start to get comfortable with the way that we do things, and we tend to forget the motive, the vision, the reason why we decided to run, the reason why we're sitting in that chair.
And you know, you brought out a good point. I have a great friend of mine, and he's an excellent trial attorney. His name is Ken Goldberg, and we did a lot of things together, from executive protection and a bunch of other things. And he's a very, very good friend. And what happens is that Ken used to say this. You know, the problem with our public officials is they're worried about getting money for their next reelection and have forgotten why they're sitting down there. Mm-hmm. And I never really paid attention to that. And last year we were talking about it. He goes, Paul, remember what I told you? This was years ago back in Dallas, because I lived in Dallas as well. And he says, folks get elected. They have an energy and a drive. And they start off pushing everything in there. Then all of a sudden they get caught up in the thorn bush. Then all of a sudden they realize that, wait a minute, I need to start getting money for my next reelection. Mm-hmm. So that's when people get that fish hook yanked into them. And he goes, and if people would not worry about that and do what they were supposed to do, things will be a lot better. Right. Come back to what the reasons that they entered that place in the first place. And he made sense, you know. He made sense about that. And you just brought that up. We need people to come back down to realize why they were elected, why they're sitting down in that chair. Right. I got a question here that just came out from Aldo Gonzalez. What is your feeling of the salary of the city council from 6,000 10 years ago to over 40,000 now today?
That's crazy, the way wages go up. If you ask me personally, and the way that I treat with my employees, the way that we work together, if I pay my employees minimum wage, they're going to perform at a minimum wage
Sure.
level. If you pay them better, that works with their identity. Now, in terms of council, sure, it may have skyrocketed up. I don't necessarily see it as a bad thing, but I do think that we can do better in our efficiency with what we do with that money, with that salary.
Okay, in other words, we need to step up the game.
Exactly.
You know, and you brought up a
Exactly.
good point. There's a lot of things in here, and that we got in there. We got a bunch of stuff, you know, that's going on. We have one from Judge Bruni. What would you do with the council members that are right now under FBI review, if you get inside?
If I get inside and I mean, if they're under FBI review, there's not really, I don't really have a say in that. I'm willing to work together to move our city forward with what we have at the moment. You use the tools that are there, you use the people that are there. But if I had a decision in that and I have to stand up for what is right, I definitely will. I will make the decision of just simply the justice and the legal things that goes on there.
Sure. Let's change that a little bit more into this. What, there's a lot of small businesses in Laredo.
Yeah.
Do you think the city or is doing much for the small businesses? Do you think that we can better it in the format that once you get elected, and if you
Right.
get elected and you're sitting up there, how will you help those small businesses in it?
Being a business owner right now, I currently see our government not being necessarily a business-friendly society, a business-friendly government. It's like if they're just setting up more barriers for business to develop. I believe in breaking down those barriers. I know that our local businesses are one of our greatest assets to furthering our local job growth. So what we need to do is empower those businesses, is encourage them, promote them to develop, to grow. And you do that through tax incentives or qualified tax abatements, or just working together with them to help them grow.
Sure. And we need more of that, you know, and
We do. We need a
more small
diversified
businesses.
economy.
We need to start supporting our small businesses as a small business owner.
We've
here as
seen
well.
businesses who start
Sure.
up, raise up, and either shut down or, because they have no more room to grow, end up moving their businesses to another city.
You see that a lot as well. We see a lot of our kids that are educated here, go to college here, and there's no jobs. There's no jobs in the market, and all of a sudden, well, you see them going to San Antonio, going to see them elsewhere. But why? Because there's actually no jobs that are in Laredo,
Right.
as that many complain. Are you going to be a person that's going to try to bring in more companies, more jobs, more? How can I say? Positions to fill in that gap that we're missing.
So that's a little bit of a tricky situation. Just to answer your question, yes, I do believe in attracting other developers from outside to come in and invest in our beautiful and great city, because it does have a lot of potential. It's a little bit of a tricky situation because our education rate is also kind of low. So you have to work with education as well. It's not, if you work only with education, then okay, they're going to end up leaving because there's no more opportunities. And if you work only with business, then you're going to bring manufacturers and you're going to bring large businesses who end up realizing that at one point they're going to have to head back because they didn't have the people with the abilities, with the skills in order to go in and fill those jobs. I think one Workforce Solutions is doing a great job with that, partnering with the local schools. My company is currently a part of that program. And what that program does is they'll help educate them, they'll get them a scholarship to go into school and they're studying, but at the same time they pay half of their salary as they implement and they're
Sure.
working on,
Kind of like an
on what
apprentice
they're
program.
learning. Exactly, but they're getting paid.
Sure.
So it's great.
Yeah, well, you know, and you have apprentice programs that pay you and some that don't. But yeah, and that's what we need more of. We lost a lot of apprentice programs in the last, I'd say, 30 years. Okay, and we need more of, because you have a lot of folks that all of a sudden become experts without having all the foundation that to mount you up there. Understand? And that's when you see construction fails, you see a bunch of stuff failing.
Yeah.
And we do need those apprentice programs, and we commend you for having that. Now, let's look at our youth. Okay, we live in a city that has a lot, and I hate to say this, has a lot of drugs here. Okay, we see it daily. Okay, opiates and so on and so forth, and I've talked to the chiefs, both police and fire, and we do have a problem. How can we tackle as a city to start programs that are preventative? I see a lot of programs that the person's already in drugs.
Right.
We need to start programs that are preventative.
Beforehand.
And I'm the type of person that says, you know what, we have to stop it here. We can't stop it if the person's already in drugs and it's already committed the crimes and so on and so forth. Well, you know, it's already done. You know, let's stop it beforehand. What do you suggest? What ideas do you have?
I think what in the end, and I know it may sound a little redundant, but it's because it's true. It's working together, partnering up with local churches, partnering up with local nonprofits, and with their ideas, with their expertise, and with their knowledge in that certain area, they can accomplish it. But they've been struggling because they don't really have the resources, because they don't have the support, because they don't have the whatever is necessary to accomplish that. So they're doing their diligence, and I commend everyone who's out there working for the betterment of our youth in every aspect of it, whether it be education or preventive programs such as what you speak of. But it definitely takes an effort of just all of us coming together and realizing that we need to be there for our youth, that this isn't good for our society, that it's affecting and it's taking us downward. We're always either moving forward or we're moving back.
Sure. And those are the things that we need to do in Laredo. We need to help out those nonprofits, help out those small programs, get everybody involved in unison, because drugs affects everybody, and it does not discriminate whether you're poor, you're rich, or racial barriers. It just goes across.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't prejudice anybody. It doesn't discriminate. It hits everybody.
I know sometimes awareness is one of the biggest things that we can do. Awareness is very, very big in helping prevent something and realizing the repercussions of your decisions. I was talking to a person who doesn't have a home, I guess just a homeless, and we were having a conversation, and he told me that the first time that he did heroin, he wasn't aware of the repercussions of it. He said, I knew what I was doing, but no one ever brought it to my attention that as soon as I shot up that first one, that it was game over for me. And now he suffers the consequences that if he doesn't have that medication, he starts to get headaches, he starts to throw up, he starts to just feel all sorts of bad. And awareness is definitely one big thing in prevention.
Sure, you're absolutely correct. I think the punishment for the drug pushers and the drug dealers is not severe enough. Understand?
I can agree with that as well.
I'm going to take back the last public hanging here. My grandfather witnessed in 1907. Okay, and and it was for rustling of some sort, I believe, here in Laredo. So what happens is, our punishments are not severe enough, so people say, oh, I'm just going to get a slap in the wrist, let me go do it again. And let me go do it again. And let me go do it again. And I'm not talking about the user, I'm talking about the pusher and the dealer. And you know what I'm saying?
Sometimes we target the wrong thing. Yeah.
And we get the person that is using it and we punish them instead of punishing the person. You know what? And that's,
of course.
And that's where we are failing, I believe.
We're focusing on the wrong thing.
That's my opinion. But now let's change that a little bit different. We've had a lot of issues, and a lot of folks have come in the last, I'd say, 6 months. What do you think about secondary water source and what we need? And
I think it's very important. I think we do that. There is a committee in place for the secondary water source. We don't want to be Flint, Michigan, where they ended up just blowing out, and right now they're in a big deficit. Water over there is super expensive. This is just insane. I do think that we deserve it deserves a big focus on to be paid attention to.
Sure. And we do need to how can I say, look at all those avenues that are coming in.
Yeah.
Because the river's it's going to dry up once, and it's going to be gone after that.
Yeah, and that's something that I'm really
Or
focused.
contaminated. You know what I'm saying?
I'm not real educated on it, but I am reading up some articles and getting some knowledge in that in order to be prepared and equipped. But I do know that it is something that is very necessary for our community. It's what you were mentioning earlier. It's just prevention, you know.
And we have to start looking towards issues that are going to arise and start tackling them now than waiting for it's already a big problem and what are we going to do now? What do you, and let's change it, let's go back into city government. Okay, let's make a little circle. What do you think's wrong within our city government and the way it's being administered? Because if there was nothing wrong, you would not be running.
Right. I think honesty and integrity are always big factors.
Okay?
Also, the planning of our city.
Okay?
I mean, if you just take a look at Mines Road, you have houses, and then you have warehouses, and then you have houses, and you have warehouses. And there is a plan, a master plan that has been put into place. Let's just go through with it. Let's stop trying to move in and move out and do this and pull here and pull there. The master plan is developed by experts who are focused on that arena. Let's not try to act like experts. Let's be persons of honesty. Let's be persons of integrity. Let's be people who care about our community enough to move our own agenda to the side and have the agenda of simply serving the people, of simply thriving.
No, you're absolutely correct. Administration, what I mean administration, how do you, I look at, I tell every single person that comes in here, there's a problem. Everybody complains federally. Let's change it a little bit.
Right.
They blame our president. I think he's doing an excellent job. They blame our president while we have people in Congress and Senate that have been there 40, 50, 30 years. They have not done nothing. How can I compare that to Laredo? Well, we have city council and mayors that some might stay 8 years, but you got directors that have been there for 20, 15, 20 years, and they run it like their own little de facto mob boss, and I use that thing. They run it to the little directors that are in some of these departments, run it to the way they want to use, the way they oppress other things that are going on, other people from moving up the ladder, individuals that are trying to do something. So in other words, they soap sud the council. No, we're doing something. Look, how we're doing it. You know, wax on, wax off, and all of a sudden behind it, they're running it to the ground. What do you think that we need to do with those directors? Do you think that we can't fire them? Do you think we need a change, like a huge root plow of the area?
Yeah.
We need to change, and the only way we can change is if we start changing from within.
Yeah.
And the council, we can change the council left and right. But if we do not move these individuals that control these departments, Laredo will never actually grow.
One of the things, I don't recall his name, but he was one of the great, his big focus was on hotel development. And they would
Here in
usually,
Laredo or
just it's a story. And when they would hire him, to go and help bring back a hotel that was going downhill, that had already messed up. The first thing he would do would be get in there and fire the manager.
Sure.
Which is not something that I'm suggesting. I'm just holding an account of what happened. And as they were asking him and interviewing him, they said, "Why do you do that? Do you even meet him?" And they're like, "Nope, I don't even meet him." Why? Well, because if we were able to work together, if we were able to move forward, he wouldn't be in that same position. So he was able to work with the personnel, with everybody that was under him, but with the manager, he would be the first one to head out.
And that's if you're going to be successful in a business that's been stagnant, those are the first people that need to go.
Yeah.
Because if it's been stagnant and it's because of that. It's not because of the employees underneath. It can be, but it's because of that. And you forewarned
leadership that's there.
It's a leadership, and you have to turn it over. And I think that's what's happening here to Laredo.
Yeah.
And I think that people that are in there have been afraid to tell them, you know what, you're not doing your job.
And when you want major change, there's
you
major
have to.
decisions that need to be made.
Exactly right. And either you do right or you're gone, because
Yeah.
a lot of these individuals, whether if they will be working for me in the restaurants that I had before, they would not be there if they made the mistakes that they were there. Done.
Yeah.
Understand? You
Completely.
replace them in a heartbeat.
Completely, yeah.
And it's either the personal skills that they have, or the way they talk down and degrade people, citizens of Laredo. It's about how they break contracts, or how they manipulate contracts, or the way they manipulate people that are supporting others in
Yeah.
small businesses. I would do a whole total revamp, and none of our council that we have now really want to sit down and say, you know what, we have a problem. That's
Yeah.
a problem. Let's change that.
You can
And-
keep cutting the grass on the top, but unless you take the roots out.
You're absolutely correct, and that needs to change. Are you willing to do that?
Oh, I'm definitely willing. As I mentioned, Rafa Duenas is known to be a person who really doesn't care. And for those of you who tuned in a little later, don't think that it's like, oh, he doesn't care. But he isn't affected by the people who are aside him in order to stand up for what is right, in order to stand up for what he believes is true. And right now, my agenda is to further my city forward in order to move and to thrive, to get this city to continue to progress, to continue to grow, to continue to develop. And if those are the changes that are needed to be made, I'm willing.
No, you're absolutely correct. There's something that, we had the president of the Firemen's Union. He came in, and he did an excellent job and everything, and the way they gave the version that was obscured from people's eyes from what happened in the city. There was a negotiation. There was stuff that was going on, and so on and so forth. The negotiation was there. It was not the story that was told to the people. They came in here and they elaborated on what actually happened. What got me was that, we have 4 attorneys there, sitting attorneys in council. And we have a city attorney. And there's probably a couple of assistant city attorneys. I don't know how many they're there. So let's just say off the ballpark, there's 5 attorneys working for the city. And they pay another firm from out of town, I can't remember the number, I think it was $125,000 to negotiate a contract of this nature. I would tell that attorney, number one, they shouldn't be having another out-of-town attorney. If we have city attorneys there, why are we outsourcing it?
So right now
Understand what I'm saying?
there's a lot of you've seen the budget, the deficit, and we're really focusing on cutting and saving and this and that. And that's good. I'm all for that. But one thing that we are lacking is focusing on what we have. What is in your hands?
Sure.
What is in your hands? And let's use every possible resource that we have. We have a great universities. We have the international trade. We have many things. What is in your hands that you can bring to the table to develop and move forward?
So what is in our hands?
I think that those are some of them. I think we also have the beautiful green spaces that our city has. And that's really what our city government needs to do right now. Get an inventory of, hey, we have lawyers, let's use them, like I'm here, I got all my resources, I'm bringing them to the table. Me personally, I'm in the trade community. So let's go ahead, you know what? The trade community is willing to work with you. So that's all it is.
And that's not happening, right?
It's not.
So we need to change that.
We do. And it takes one person to stand up. And I'm asking for the support to be that person. To be at the forefront. The person who represents you guys. The person who stands up for the people, who's a voice and the change that our city deserves.
Commendable. Okay. Anything else you'd like to tell the folks out there?
Once there was a man who he saw a snake that was burning up. And he was with his friend out in the woods. He throws his hand in to get that snake out, and the snake bites him, so he shakes it off. He does it again. Snake bites him again. Finally, the third time, he was able to get that snake out and let it free. His friend looks at him and said, "Why'd you do that 3 times? You knew the snake was going to bite you again." And the man simply looked at him and said, "Yeah, that's the snake nature. Mine is to help those who are suffering. My agenda is to serve you guys. Despite whatever it is that other people's character are, other people's psychology, I'm here to be a voice for you, and I will do so with self-discipline, with determination, with energy. I will be perseverant in fighting for what is right, in fighting for the citizens of Laredo, and in progressing and thriving our city."
That's a good analogy. And we need change. Folks, and I told, not because you're here, I tell everybody out there, look, research each and every candidate that is out there.
Yeah.
And we have great individuals running, not only for District 6, for the other districts, and really research. Do not be pushed by a group of individuals because it benefits them to have somebody up there. We don't need any more. We already have enough. And like I tell everybody this November, vote for the alphas, not the betas, because we have enough betas have shown us exactly what they're doing. So let's start voting leaders in, okay? Till next time, peace.
Thank you all.